So let's hit him. Oh, Sarah's Emis. Oh, wow. Okay, this is so incredibly brutal. Hello YouTube, welcome to MTGA Day. Today we are going to have a look at Raffine Scheming Seer in Historic Brawl. This deck aims to win by dumping a big bad reanimation target into the graveyard and then just reanimating it with a reanimation spell. So, Raffine Scheming Seer allows us to do exactly that. We do not need any discard outlets in this deck because Raffine allows us to dump our creatures into the graveyard by attacking with creatures like small creatures, and then they connive and they grow larger and we draw a card, we put our reanimation targets into the graveyard, and overall we are having a great time. This deck has basically only 3 different cards as far as deck construction goes, maybe 4 if you don't count the lands. And what do I mean by that? So basically, the first kind of card we have are our reanimation targets. So something like Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, Sarah's Emissary, and so on. I wanted all of these reanimation targets to do something immediately or be really hard to remove. Okay, what do I mean with that? Zetalpo Primal Dawn, really hard to remove, right? It's indestructible and big. Sarah's Emissary, also really hard to move and kind of does something immediately. Sheoldred does something immediately because if it goes to their turn, they really still can't stop the sacrifice trigger, right? Razorcat has immediate board impact because we can just sack a creature and get a Pact of Negation at instant speed, right? So all of these do something immediately one way or another when they enter the battlefield. So even if they board wipe us, we still got value out of them. The second kind of card we have are our reanimation spells. These are basically all the same with minor differences. For example, Unburial Rites has flashback, Unbreakable Bonds puts them into the play with a lifelink counter, and Rise Again is just literally just 5 mana, reanimate a card. And then we have some 4 mana ones as well. These are obviously really great. Notably, if you discard an Unburial Rites, it's also 4 mana on the flashback, so that's pretty good. The third kind of card that we have in this deck is basically just interaction. So something like Baleful Mastery, Drillbit, Fateful Absence, Curse of Silence, Pact of Negation, those are just your interactive pieces. And then you have your cheap creatures that can attack. Something like a Stitcher Supplier, a Changeling Outcast, Zulaport Duelist. What I was looking for in these creatures is mostly utility. In total, like, if you look at Changeling Outcast, this is unblockable effectively, and there are 2 other unblockable creatures like that are 1 mana that I don't play because I don't find room for them currently in this list. So I'd rather have a Faerie Seer or a Silver Raven that set up my draws than having an unblockable creatures, because you don't necessarily need your creatures to stay around that often. Actually, you'd rather have more smooth draws, and then like sometimes they have a big flyer and you just run into them and they die. Okay, that's fine, right? That's absolutely fine. You still have your Faerie, reanimate that, and you still win. Then you obviously have cards like Esper Sentinel. If they get additional power, they just generate a ton of value. Selfless Savior allows your cards to not die, which is pretty great. And then you also have Stitcher Supplier and Zulaport Duelist that wants to target itself actually in this deck. Where you mill yourself for additional value, or just trying to hit more Faeries, have more options, or just trying to hit a Faerie at all. Yeah, then we have some ways of playing a reanimation spell on turn 4. We obviously just have the 4 mana reanimation spells of Blood for Bones, Late to Dinner, and Unburial Rites if it's discarded. But other than that, we usually we have the time of playing a Mana Rock on 2, because creature on 1, Mana Rock on 2, then Raffine on 3, Reanimation on 4. That is a perfectly fine curve. And overall, I think this deck is pretty sweet. I usually don't talk about win rates that much, but I've played 60 games in the past couple of days, and I've only lost 1 game on the play and 7 on the draw. So if you go first in this deck, it is extremely, extremely dangerous for the opponent, at least according to my win rates. Yeah, I think this is basically all I wanted to say about this deck. There are some really cute lines that you can take. For example, if you have a Graveyard Shift, which is actually really easy to turn on in this deck and is basically an instant 5-mana reanimation spell, you can reanimate your Kite Self Rebooter to hand hate on them before the main phase, but after their draw step. Cool plays like that you can make in this deck quite often, and yeah, this is the list. Hope you enjoy it. I know there are also other builds of Raffine that are more into the tempo direction. Basically cut all of these, put in more 1 and 2 drops, put in a few flash creatures, put in more counter magic. But there is no space for counter magic in this deck. It's also not good for the play pattern because like it's really hard to hold up counter magic with this specific version. The Pact of Negation is good because you want to resolve a 5-mana spell, and you really, really want it to resolve, right? But if you resolve it, then you also probably, most of the time, you actually have 5 mana on the field to pay for the Pact, so that the Pact basically protects your reanimation spells. Other than that, yeah, no other counter magic in the deck, and hope you enjoyed, and let's see you in the games. We are ready to play against Tovalar, and this is a perfectly fine hand. I'm going to keep it. Yeah, probably Changeling Outcast on 1. And I'm not going to play the Ornithopter on 1, I'm going to play the turn before I play Raffine, because there is no point in like attacking, at least in the like with it on turn 2, at least in this version of the deck. Tenacious Pup, sure. And play this. You swinging. And yeah, next turn, Stochastic Naturalist. That looks scary, but I'm actually not too scared by that. Raffine, and now you will see the power of Raffine. I think I will just put everything on the Changeling Outcast here. 1, 2, 3. Because, you know, that's unblockable, can keep swinging in. I could have also just used the Hope of Ghirapur here, but I think they will just play Tovalar, right? So I want to do that next turn. If they spent their mana to like fight Raffine or something like that, I'm kind of fine with it, honestly. Chaos Swap. Oh, just please hit a fatty. That would be so funny. Okay, you know what? That's actually even better because we just have the double reanimation ready here. And now we just blue. And I think I want to swing in with these, crack the Hope of Ghirapur so I know they can't do anything during their next turn. It's kind of funny actually. We always take the Scholar here because if it enters we can flash back an instant sorcery for free, and that grabs the reanimation spell that also grabbed the Scholar. Like, it's funny, like, I prevented them from casting non-creature because Nezo actually draws me cards off of non-creature, but I still think just not giving them the option to do so is, for a turn, is pretty valuable. Yeah, and they just surrender to that. GG. We are ready to play against Falco Sparra. And interesting. Could keep this. It's... yeah. It's kind of interesting. It's a turn 4 reanimation, or it's a turn 5 reanimation with check for traps. I think they will play dog here. So I think I will go for the higher upside play actually. Oh, they just didn't play dog. They just played nothing. They don't have blue mana up, so I'm absolutely fine by that. Yep, Topiary Stomper. And we're just going to dump a Jin-Gitaxi's Progress Tyrant into the graveyard. Swing in. I'd rather have a Jin-Gitaxi's Core Augur maybe. That's interesting. If I think I want to copy check for traps next turn. Maybe that's a bit too greedy though. And we use the Liliana. Yeah, and they just surrender. So the idea was that I cannot copy check for traps with this, because I don't know what's going on there, and this also protects me against a board wipe, where this Jin-Gitaxis doesn't. But this obviously is just really insane if it doesn't get killed, because it discards the hand, and oh, you know, draw 7 is pretty good. GG. We are ready to play against Omnath, Locus of the Royal, and no white. Obviously, if this hand had white, it would be really, really good. I think I can keep this, yeah. It's a turn 4 reanimation if I get a reanimation spell. Pretty good, yeah. Yeah, let's keep it. Against like decks that don't really put out a lot of creatures, I like to name instant with Emissary, because then stops, like against them specifically, or like against Simic that is not very creature focused, I like to name instant, because then it stops their 1 mana bounce effects, usually like Brazen Borrowers and so on. What do I name here? I think I will have to name blue actually. The reason why I will name blue is so I have double blue to pay for my Pact of Negation. Leasing Caryatid, yes, got it. Oh, this is obviously amazing, because now I can name Omnath, Locus of the Royal, with my Curse of Silence. Beautiful. And if I get a reanimation spell, we're in business. If I don't, I am actually 1 mana away from just hard casting my threats. So we attack first to see what we draw. We put a Serra's Emissary into the graveyard. And we will play this tapped Hive of the Eye Tyrant. The reason why we're doing it this way is next turn, if we still don't draw a reanimation spell, we can Phyrexian Tower, sacrifice Raffine, have Sheoldred in play, and then that reanimates our Serra's Emissary. Ren at 7. That is totally okay by me. Yep. And yeah, we probably have a huge board with a with counterspell backup, so that's pretty great. Oh yeah, put you into the grave, obviously. And Phyrexian Tower, Sheoldred. And yeah, take action, we put it into command zone. And you see, this was actually relevant, like putting the Cold Steel Heart onto blue. Because now we can pay for the Pact. Okay, they have to sacrifice the Caryatid, that limits their mana, which is obviously great. And they just surrender. GG. We are ready to play against Nahiri, and I think this is a mulligan. I don't have any black mana. Yeah, you want to be mulliganing pretty aggressively with this deck, honestly. Although Yeah, this is probably... No, this is not a keep. Because I need to crack this on turn 1, but I also need to crack it for blue, so I can't go for the turn 4 animation. Like you can, because I can't play Priest of Fell Rites here on 2. Sometimes you can go for the turn 3 reanimation with this deck actually, which is pretty cool. Like, play 1-drop Priest, turn 3 Raffine, discard Fatty Priest. I want to get rid of the removal. Okay. Black, Raffine, bin the Sarah's Emissary. Once we get protection from creatures, that should be pretty good. Yeah, they see it coming, and GG. We are ready to play against Falco Sparrow, and this is actually a turn 4 reanimation. I like it. Yeah. Turn 1 Snarl, reveal the planes, play Savior. We don't do much on turn 2. Yeah, but that's fine. No attacks. They play their commander. We play our commander. And yeah, let's attack with the Savior. And what do we want to reanimate? The Jingataxis or the Zetalpa? I think Zetalpa is a bit more threatening. I still have... Like, I don't need to draw more cards here, given the fact that I still basically have a full reanimation package in hand left if they deal with the Zetalpa. So I'm not too worried about that. Okay, we go for blue here. And we swing it first, right? Yeah. Goodbye, Jingataxis. And I'm not discarding the Unburial Rites because I have the 4-mana reanimation with the late to dinner anyways. So I can play this, then Unburial Rites, then that gets countered, and I can do it a 3rd time as well, 4th time with Liliana. Do I want to put that on top? Yeah, I think I do. Just want to have that target. This target's in graveyard as well. Oh wow, that's so nice. Okay. I think now I just want to get rid of the Jingataxis. Attack first though. Not get rid of, but play the Jingataxis here. Yep, shield counter, sure. Unburial Rites. Draw. And we're getting rid of land. Land. I think I want the Dark Ritual for mana. And they surrender to that. GG. We are ready to play against Muldrotha. Interesting. Interesting. I do have the Priest. I can turn 3 reanimate actually. Yeah, I want to do that. So I have to grab white with this. And I'm going to Thoughtseize myself here. For the Burning Ruin Demon on turn 3. So grab the white with this. And this is obviously a much stronger plan on the play than on the draw. If I was on the draw, I think I would have played this a bit differently. Yeah, I want to lead on the Stitches Supplier. Yep, that. I Thoughtseize myself. Discard the Burning Rune. Reanimate that. And I'm going to... I'm thinking if I should just go double blue source. Yeah, just double blue source seems like a good idea. It's white blue versus white blue. The basic, yeah, white blue, white blue. This is basically not a choice for the opponent. And I just want to hit my land drop next turn. And I'm trying to beat them down with this. Hopefully this is good enough. But the Lotus Cobra is quite scary. Also, them having Garuda is actually really scary as well. Because that does represent... It is really scary. Because, you know, hitting my reanimation creatures is probably one of the worst things that could happen here. We swing in, put it on the Burning Rune Demon, sure. We don't need those. And we want to go for another reanimation spell here with the Connive Concoct next turn. I could have kept the Absence and get rid of the Connive Concoct, but what I like about this is that it digs 3 deeper. I think they are putting Garuda into hand. That seems like a good idea here. So maybe I would love to hit a Razaketh, for example, here. Hedron Archive into Garuda. Wow, that's so much ramp. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Hand Hate, Hedron Archive, something along those lines is what I wish for here. But obviously we can't get that every single time. So let's hit him. Oh, Sarah's Emis. Oh, wow. Okay, this is so incredibly brutal. I'm discarding this to get more power. Yep, Sarah's Emissary. I'm about to get protection from creatures. So yeah, Knife Concoct. Just graveyard everything. Don't need him. And then we select the Scholar of the Lost Trove. Select the Connive Concoct again. I could have picked the Thoughtseize as well. But I feel like just putting more things into play. Because, like, if they Garuda, I still think I just win this, even through Nanishnorn. GG. We are ready to play against Garruk. And this is probably a mulligan. We still don't have our colors. So mulligan again. Let's see. Opponent still decides whether or not they want to mulligan. Against mono green, I think I'm confident that I can just win off of a mull to 4 or maybe 3, right? Just like get Raffine, just start filtering, and then most of my big threats should do it. And they can't really do anything to stop me. I lose though if they have an explosive start and I can't get into the game, but we're playing first and this deck is extremely good at going first. Yes. Yes, that's what I want to see. Get rid of a reanimation spell. We should hopefully only need one. Nezal is obviously not great against their deck specifically, but what can you do? We obviously want to have one more land that we draw, but hopefully we get that. It's kind of a gamble. Do we think we draw a blue or a black source, right? I think we can operate a bit better with the double black here. Let's see. Hopefully we don't stumble here. I didn't have land elves on turn 1, which is obviously great for us. Or just any acceleration, for that matter. Hmm? 2-drop dog? No, not even that. Oh well. What a cruel, cruel world we live in. Okay, Stitcher's Supplier's beatdown it is. And we're just gonna activate the Paladin class. Now it's a 2-2 and only takes like 12 more turns to kill him. Easy peasy, right? Is it Garruk Elves? I assume so. There it is. Lucky. Lucky me. Swinging. Oh yeah, Toxrill is the card I want in this matchup. Yes. They don't block. Spectacle. And let's see. I'm still keeping this Mox Amber in hand. Maybe I want to discard it, right? Like it does add power compared to a land into to play, but I definitely look into like if I don't draw land, I'm obviously playing it to use the restoration, and they should probably be dead here. Basically, I'm going to attack with both, and I'm going to put the counters on Raffine. It's fine if they block the Stitcher Supplier. Do like this. Honestly, land. Like land this turn, land next turn. That's 6 mana, 7 mana. You could hard cast a Nazal next turn. But I think I have 7 mana. Most of my reanimation targets are 7 mana. Well, a lot of them, right? So I'm going to play the land this turn, Graceful Restoration, and then next turn, if I hit another reanimation target, can just hardcast that. Let's see. The Toxrill alone should win us the game here, though. So we go Shattered Sanctum, Restoration, Toxrill, and this is each end step, so it's our end step and then the opponent's. So that is just game. GG. We are done with the games. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did. And yeah, Raffine's Scheming Seer is a real threat. Especially if you go first. This deck can just absolutely wreck you. The Reanimator version, that is. I haven't dipped my toes too much into the Tempo version yet. That will probably sometime down the line now will also be around the channel here. But this specifically is the Reanimator version, and I have a lot of success with it. If you want to build this deck on a budget, what can you cut? What do you need? And obviously this is expensive, right? Obviously. What you definitely need is like these are the best reanimation targets in my opinion, and I've even gone so far that I haven't, like, I would love to add one more reanimation target, but I just can't find a target that I'm satisfied with in this list, because just all the other ones either don't have immediate board impact or just have too small of a body to matter. For example, Meteor Golem is just a 3/3, right? So that's still just not a great target to reanimate. So you definitely want most of these, right? Most of these. I believe I play all the reanimation spell that we have access to, but if you don't have Concoct or Liliana, don't worry too much. You can just replace them with any basically 1-drop to filter more through your deck and find another reanimation spell. You want your mana. Like, as you've seen in the games, most of the time mana is the problem. and so you should get all the mana fixing here. Don't need Hive, you don't need Otawara, and you don't need Phyrexian. Phyrexian specifically, I just don't count that as a land. I count it, it's more of a dark ritual, right? And it serves the same purpose. Well, on turn 4, if you have a 5-mana reanimation spell in hand, you can sack your Raffine, sack your like 1-drop, and then get your target immediately out of the grave. And it's basically like a dark ritual. Don't look at this as a land drop really, because it doesn't cast Raffine. For the interactive spells, I think Fateful Absence, Swords, whatever, these are really, really good. Curse of Silence. And I would go even so far to say, yes, like you can play Heartless Act and whatnot instead, but maybe it's even correct to just play more 1-drops instead. Like, I've actually thought about Fateful Absence and Baleful Mastery, just cut them completely and then just put just more 1-drops in, or just a land or two. So that's something you can totally do. Same with Swords to Plowshares. And for the rare 1-drops, yes, they're obviously good, right? Hope of Ghirapur is amazing in making sure your reanimation spell resolves, but just play other evasive 1-drops and then you should be fine. The Pact of Negation here is really good, because it does protect your 5-mana reanimation spells, and there are some really cool lines with Pact and Razaketh, like you reanimate a Razaketh, right? Let's say you have 2 creatures on board and you reanimated Razaketh of 4 mana, so what you do at that point is you sacrifice a creature to Razaketh, you get a Mox Amber, and then you can maybe even play a Thoughtseize from hand as well. If you have an additional creature lying around, you can just sacrifice that and get a Thoughtseize them. And then if they still do something, you can sacrifice a creature at instant speed to get your Pact of Negation, and since you search for the Mox Amber, now you're able to pay for it. Just make sure that if you don't have Raffine in play anymore, Mox Amber only taps for black, because that's probably the only legendary creature you have at that point, so just make sure you have the double blue for Pact. But overall, I think like you really need the fatties, you really need the mana fixing, but if you don't have the rest, don't worry too much, I think. Yeah, this is my take on Raffine Scheming Seer. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all the good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.